Welcome back to Swimming in the Deep. What we have here is a 2003 F-150 Triton 5.4. It's a rear-wheel drive. This truck is a 2003, as I said. It only has 50,000 miles on it, so it's in great shape. It's been in my family since it was bought. I bought this truck new, then it was my dad's, now it's mine again. So what we're doing is the limited slip differentials seem to have a chatter in them, and it's sort of a thing that these trucks are known for if you don't have the right fluid in them or change them regularly. Ford recommends that you change them every 30 to 50,000 miles. This one, to my knowledge, has never been changed. I don't believe my father ever had it changed. I already started the job and decided I was going to make this video, so I've taken 2 bolts out. These bolts in the differential are a 1/2 inch bolt. They're not a metric. So you also want to have the following: a big catch basin, because it starts to make a mess. There's no plug in this other than a side plug up top, and a regular ratchet fits that, a ratchet head, not a ratchet socket. And you want to open that up before you get started, and by simply going counterclockwise. And the other things that you'll need for this job are some RTV sealant or gasket maker, or you want to buy a gasket. I bought this gasket, and it matches up with, I believe, all trucks that have 12 bolts, so you can count them, and I held it up for shaping, and I indeed do have the right one. Alright, the other thing that you want to do is you want to have the replacement fluid. I'm told that this truck will take 3.5 of these. We'll see. I've seen conflicting things on that. And what we're going to use is full synthetic 75W140, and that is what's specified for the limited slip. That's the spec from Ford. And you want to make sure that you put an additive in here. And what that does is it makes the fluid more slippery, so the slip will work. Right now, from what I understand, the slip's not quite working all the time because it's not slippery enough with the old fluid in it, and the clutch plate's not working correctly. So you'll note that this contains limited slip additive. Some people say that's enough. Some people say it's not enough. So I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to test drive it for a couple weeks, and if that's not enough, I'm going to add 4 ounces of this additive from Ford Motorcraft, what they specify. You don't want too much, because then you'll have an open differential. It'll basically be too slippery. From my research, that's what that says. The other thing you'll want is you want some shop towels, because once you take this apart, you won't be able to get all the fluid until you reach down in what they're calling the pumpkin. Note it looks like a big pumpkin underneath, and you can reach down in there in that base and you can wipe out the remaining there. Another thing that I'm told that you want is you want carburetor cleaner or brake cleaner on hand. And so I've got a new can of that. Spray out the cover, and also spray out and clean out as much as you have access to. You don't want to use rags that have threads on them and stuff. So shop towels like this that don't disintegrate, that will work for the job, I'm told in the forums, is best. I don't think I'm going to jack up my truck today. I think I have enough access to get under here and do this job. And I'm going to use my impact rechargeable. I know that's not an impact, don't worry about it. And then I also have a manual socket to be able to do that. And the thing you might want to do is you might want to drop your spare tire if you don't want to worry if you have clearance to get in there. I have a right angle smaller impact that will probably help me get those without dropping the spare tire. Alright, so that's an overview of what we're going to do. We're going to take that apart, clean it out. I'll have some video along the way, and then we're going to put it all back together. And that's how it's going to go. What could possibly go wrong, right? Well, we'll be back, and maybe I'll find a tripod from my daughter or something, put this thing on here to improve my camera work. Thanks. Okay, update. I did jack it up a bit using some jack stands because I value my life. And this is that plug I was talking about. So this plug's on the other side of the differential. It's just a normal socket that fits it. I've already loosened it up. You know, it just goes in there, and then you can turn it. And basically I sprayed some WD-40 on that. You can use liquid wrench or something like that. Mine's in great shape. It's never been in salt roads or things like that. And you see it's starting to weep right there, so I'm going to leave it just where I can nearly take it out with my fingers here in a little bit. And then I'm going to finish taking these nuts off the other side. As I said earlier, these are 1/2 inch, and I'm going to go around here and remove those. You got a brake line up here on most models probably. You want to take that and gently just bend it out of the way. That tip's coming from some videos I'll watch too. So that'll be out of the way when this comes off. So when you get all these bolts taken out, what I have researched and read is you want to put a bolt right back in at the top. Right before you take your last bolt out, just finger tighten it there. It'll hold the differential on. And then you'll take a screwdriver or something and you'll just gently pop this and break the seal, and then the contents are going to drain into your catch pan. Make sure you have a big catch pan or something because it runs everywhere. Alright, we'll give you an update in a moment. Okay, now it's time for the big reveal. Sometimes making a YouTube video, you spend more time setting up the camera than you do fixing whatever project. I really need a tripod. So what I have is the persuader, which is translation for any old hammer, and a flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to tap this right in here and hopefully capture this waterfall of fluid. Not getting the lip of it. This is where you see a quick edit probably. There it started. I'm not going to hammer it too hard in that one area. I'm going to work it down. You can hear the sealant turning loose. And there comes the fluid. So I'm going to let that drain slowly until it drains out. And this is why you want to go ahead and do that plug, because the last thing you want to do is be trying to let air in there or something. Or more should come out. And it's a pretty good controlled waterfall. I'm just going to let it drain. So the interesting thing is once you get this all wiped out and everything, these bottles looks like they just did a new design, because these are hard plastic. There's one hard plastic one left at my Walmart. This flexible one here is supposed to be easier to get into that refill hole. And then you'll want to refill it all the way up to that level where it just starts to pour out. Ford didn't put a plug in these. So the other thing you might want to think about doing is getting a cupboard that has a plug built into it, and you can get replacement covers online. And they get fancy if you want to, because air cooled as all this liquid is, some people think that you can get better performance out of it if you cool it faster. And they put fins on them and all kinds of stuff, so you can get fancy. You can spend $200 or $300 on the cover. They've got one for a Ford Raptor that I believe in fits this, but really, I thought about that, but I don't know, $100 for something you do every 30 to 50,000 miles, is it worth it? Maybe. But you can also get in there and inspect things. So now we've got this covered good and loose, and most of the fluid's out. It's still stuck on the other side, so I want to work this around and get it fully loose on the other side. There we go. Once you've done that, take this screwdriver, wipe it off, put it somewhere it's not going to get filthy, and then when I hand loosen it, take that bolt out, and that's why you want that bolt just hand tight. So you just take that out and not have it drop on you. You're seeing the differential for the first time as I am. You're probably seeing it before I am because I hadn't turned it in my direction yet. But they say this is pretty filthy, and it is. So this is what you spend time cleaning up. And that's what I'll do next with my shop towels, and give you an update shortly. But we'll also get in here and clean up as much as we can by hand. And what you want to do is clean this gasket surface as best you can, and also make sure that any bend that you might have put in your differential cover, you do your best to work it back out, because you want it to be nice and flat. And some people take a little abrasive wheel over here and get it clean. I'm going to do whatever I've got and get it clean, and then we'll be back a little later. Of course my camera would slip, so I'm not sure you saw any of that. So here's another look at it, and we're going to clean that out by hand and come back in a little bit. Alright, we're just about ready to put this back together. So what I did was cleaned off the surface of the differential housing itself with a razor blade. Not much RTV or whatever gasket maker they used at the factory when they built the differential. Not much was stuck to the side, which is good. I blocked that off with rags and stuff, so I scraped around it, and as you see, it's a good clean surface. What you're concerned with there is it being flat. I also cleaned all this out with carburetor cleaner. You could do the same with brake cleaner, and got the all the oil and excess oil out in here. And I didn't see any shavings or anything that looked scary, so I'm pretty positive this is going to fix my chattering problem just with the new lubrication. And so this is my new gasket, and it looks like it's matching up really well. Here's the tip on this gasket. It looks like you could put it in on either side, but if it doesn't fit, flip it over. In this case, these stripes, these blue stripes are facing me. It fit much better that way, and all the holes lined up when I did that. For the differential cover itself, I've cleaned it up and given it a quick shot of spray paint just while I had it off, and look how nice this cleaned up. All that RTV's off of there, everything I could get off easily. And then that one edge that I bent with the screwdriver taking it off, I took it over to a flat spot in my workshop, gave it a few taps, and it pulled it down where it's nice and level. And so we're ready to put everything back together, and we'll start by putting a bolt at the top. And I'm going to look at this gasket and probably rub some lubricant just around the gasket itself. But I'm not going to use RTV and the gasket. So I've read and researched that you can use RTV, or you can use a gasket by itself, or you can use RTV and a gasket. All three methods should not leak. And then when you put these bolts back in, you want to put them down to spec, and I'll say what that is in a little bit. So you'll need a torque wrench to be able to do that, and I do have one, so I'll get that out at the end and give them that tightness. Okay, funny thing is that a lot of people tell you to use a torque wrench, but you need a quick tutorial sometimes on how to use a torque wrench. Look, this one just came from an auto parts store for under 20 bucks years ago. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. It doesn't need to be a digital one. The way that you do this is you twist this handle right here until it gets to what you need. In this case, we're going to do approximately 33 foot-pounds. And see, that says foot-pounds there. So when you twist the handle, that goes up. And I'm close to 30 now. 30's just not showing right there, and then I went to 33. Really this calls for 29 to 33 foot-pounds. Then you put this on and you use it just like a ratchet, and this is 1/2 inch, and I'm going to put the socket on in a moment. And you do it until you tighten it up until it click 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 click. You'll hear it click, and then you do it for the next one. And when you're putting this differential back on, like oil pans and everything else, you do one side, then the other diagonally, then the other diagonally, then the other diagonally, and etc. until you're done. And so that's what we're going to do. If you could see what the camera's on, you'd laugh. It's on my jack. My daughter has a tripod. I'm too lazy to go upstairs and get it. So you get what you pay for in the quality of my YouTube videos. Put this on here. Tighten, tighten, and I already hand tighten these with the ratchet. You hear that click? That click is what you're looking for. I'm going to come up here diagonally, and I know you can't see this is out of view. Do the same thing up here. There's my click. And do the same thing down here. I'll just keep working my way around. You wouldn't believe the underside of this truck. Looks like it's months old. It's a 2003 though. It's been garaged. It's my dad's truck. And I got it back earlier this month. And this was one of the things I was going to do to it anyway. To get rid of this chatter. I bought this truck off the lot, I think you've heard me say, in 2003. Make sure I didn't move this setting. I did move it a little bit. There's the click. Yeah, it's a two-wheel drive, which maximizes your towing capacity. Here in the South, you don't need four-wheel drive all the time unless you're mudding, or the only time I wish I had it is maybe when I'm up in the mountains trout fishing, but I take a winch with me in case I get into trouble. I learned to do that years ago. We'll speed this up probably, and so you won't get bored of this. Don't forget to bend your brake lines back if you bent them. I just slightly bent them. You don't want to put much pressure on those brake lines. Already got that one. Already got that one. Double check my wrench again, make sure I'm not spinning the torque. Double checking them, make sure I didn't miss any. I missed this one. I started at 12 o'clock, now I'm going around. Just decided 12 o'clock was a good place to keep up with where I was. No science behind that, except for once you cross thread, not the cross thread, but cross tighten, then you want to check them all one at a time. One o'clock position. Back to 12. Now, we're going to take this and we're going to take the plug on out like we said we were going to do. That plug right there. Pardon the angle. Lefty loosey. And let's see if we got anything. Yeah, these are magnets, so not much at all. Wipe that off, little sludge, but not much at all. Now, just squirt the oil in there, the gear oil, and we should be done. But I'll be back in a second. Now it's just a matter of getting the differential fluid in there. So those tips in this flexible new bag seems to make it easy compared to some of the how-tos and videos I've watched. And so we'll fill this up, and what you do is you fill it until it weeps out, and then you should be done. We'll see how much it holds. Well, darkness is starting to fall a little bit, but you know, long days of summer are already here in May. So this is what it looks like. Bright and shiny, a little bit of light coat of paint on there, and torque to spec. We've got our filler back in. We put some thread compound on that before we put it in, and you don't want to get that too tight. I think it's 18 foot-pounds, so you want to be careful with that. And well, no leak so far. And this will conclude it, except for a test drive, and we'll see how it did. Well, I know you're curious to know how much it held. It held 2 3/4 or so quarts. So that's all you need for this model. And I've got to get this thing worked in. I can still fill a little bit in there, but I've been told you got to take it to a parking lot or something and make some tight turns. So I'll report back, hopefully before I post this video, of how well it's doing. So I'm going to stop this and see how it goes. So the verdict is that it made it a lot better, and I'm told that you have to drive and work them in. So I'll add more friction modifier if need be. Truth be told, I added about a half of that bottle. So I probably could have added the whole thing. So my recommendation is, even if it says it has limited slip additive in it, go ahead and add that whole bottle of Motorcraft limited slip additive to your mix. If it doesn't fix it, I'm going to make sure I have enough in there and try it again. But it has made it a whole lot better. When in reverse and then turning, I would hear it. If I go slow, I don't hear it or feel it, but it was really bad before. Alright, thanks for watching this video, and thanks for watching Swimming in the Deep. Like, share, and subscribe for all my videos. Thanks.